Hello, friend. I want to tell you about the Alfa Romeo Giulietta car, engines and facelifts. Looking through the history of the model, it is easy to conclude that the only changes that have taken place over the course of 9 years are the novelties under the hood. However, in order not to disappoint customers, the appearance of the grille and bumper were subtly modified, as well as the sound and multimedia systems. But in fact, without really extensive knowledge, it is difficult to indicate which version of the model is newer and which is older. The most important dates are 2013 and 2015, when changes were introduced to the engine range. After the last facelift, which did nothing to the appearance, the main thing that changed was the price. The range of engines is not very large. Out of the 14 offered in the history of the model, only 3 remain, the best and most adapted to the market. However, over the years, customers had a lot to choose from. Currently, the offer includes the 1.4 T-Jet petrol engine with 120 horsepower, as well as the 1.6 JTDM diesel with the same power, and the currently top-of-the-range 2.0 MJTD engine generating 170 horsepower. Until 2018, a 1.4 multi-air petrol unit with 150 and 170 horsepower was also offered, as well as a 240 horsepower or 1.7 TBI for the fastest version of the Veloce model. There were also weaker versions of the 1.4 T-Jet and diesel engines. Each version came with a 6-speed manual or automatic gearbox with a dual clutch. Unfortunately, by today's standards, the highest gear ratio is quite short, as are the others. For example, with a 120 horsepower petrol engine, you can easily start off in second gear and use 6th in the city. Unfortunately, on the highway, this means high revs and fuel consumption. Which engine is best? The best and safest choice is the T-Jet petrol unit named Turbo Benzina or TB, offered from the very beginning to the present day. It is a simple design with turbocharging, repeatedly praised for its durability and reliability on the pages of AutoCult PL. Thanks to the indirect fuel injection, a gas installation can be installed. The dynamics of this unit are better than the power of 120 horsepower would suggest. Short gear ratios allow you to reach 100 kilometers per h in about 9.4 seconds. In addition, flexibility is sensational. Fuel consumption, typical for such engines, about 7 to 8 tel, 100 kilometers. The multi-air system engines are more risky, although their dynamics are very tempting. Version 1.4 burns about the same fuel as the simple T-Jet, with much better performance. Unfortunately, the valve control system turned out to be unstable, and the electronics and cooling system are also failing. However, despite this, repairs are not very expensive, and users praise these engines. You can recommend any diesel. Each one also performs averagely in city conditions due to the particulate filter. EGR valve damage also happens. However, these are generally very reliable and durable engines that can be repaired without any problems, and it will not be expensive. It is also worth mentioning the drive system, and here the news is not the best. Each engine, even the weakest petrol with 105 horsepower, is equipped with a dual-mass flywheel. However, this should not be a concern, because although prices range from $175 in petrols to $300 in diesels, they are durable. The situation is worse with gearboxes, especially in cars from the beginning of production. As for manuals, they were not M32 transmissions. Despite this, the gearboxes work quite precisely, but they can grind if you change gears quickly. After long and intensive use, they require repairs. TCT transmissions with 2 clutches are risky, which does not mean they are bad. They perform no worse than the popular DSG in VW group cars and are more or less as durable. There are even opinions that electronics failures occur less often, but this may be a scale effect. There are definitely fewer Alfa Romeos on our market than all sorts of Volkswagens. Alfa Romeo drives as you would expect. Although Alfa Romeo doesn't make a big impression in numbers, the engineers have done everything to give customers what they expect. The front suspension, McPherson type, with aluminum knuckles, is a classic design on steel wishbones, in which the pins and bushings can be replaced. The multi-link rear suspension is quite unusual, as it is a mix of multi-link solutions with the simplicity of a torsion beam. 2 transverse arms are used per side, attached to the longitudinal arm, which is the most expensive suspension element. The spring and shock absorber are mounted separately. On the one hand, this makes the Giulietta a car with a sporty character and a really great driving compact. On the other hand, repairs are cheap and quite easy. The prices of spare parts for the suspension are low despite the low interchangeability with other models. The rear wishbones are a bit more expensive. The brake system is interchangeable with the Alfa 159. The steering gear has electric power steering. However, the gear itself wears out mechanically faster than the power steering system. Electronics and corrosion are not a problem after the disastrous 147 model, which many users would like to forget forever. The Italians put a lot of effort into the quality of workmanship, both in the electrics and in protecting the body from corrosion. Minor electrical problems still occur in the Giulietta, but they do not affect mobility. It is rare for the car to become immobile. There are failures in the tailgate harness, sensors, and the engine electronics in the broad sense. The more complicated the engine, multi-air or diesel, the greater the risk. Overall, there is no reason to complain because the Giulietta is no worse than average. The body and chassis look very good, however. Corrosion is a virtually unknown phenomenon. It is worse with chrome elements, which can corrode from the inside after years. Thanks for listening to me. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and rate my video. If you know of any problems with this car that I haven't mentioned, be sure to write about them in the comments.